Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Maelle Gavet, Executive Vice President of Global Operations at Priceline, and Ron Miller, reporter at TechCrunch.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ron Miller from TechCrunch. This is Maelle Gavet. You don't pronounce the T. She's from Priceline Group. She's the Executive Vice President of Global Operations. And as such, she's responsible for driving operational strategy and connections across the 6 Priceline Group properties, which include Booking.com, OpenTable, Kayak, Priceline.com, Agoda.com, and RentalCars.com. And before that, she was CEO of Ozone, Russia's leading e-commerce business. So pretty strong background. So we're going to get going. We only have about 20 minutes here. Now, as a journalist, one of the things that fascinates me is the intersection of innovation and disruption. And we're at this conference, and you have this combination of startups and established companies. And it seems like this cycle of disruption and innovation is just getting faster all the time. One time, your company was the disruptor, right? It came in and it upended the travel industry. But now you have a host of disruptive forces coming after your company. So I'm wondering, how does the Priceline Group deal with that constant competitive pressure, often when you don't even know where it's going to come from next?
We love competition. I think it's even in the DNA of our group. If you look at the way the Priceline Group is structured, we're the 3rd largest e-commerce in the world, and very few people know that. You mentioned all the companies we have in the group. But what even less people know is that we have a very decentralized structure, and our brands are actually competing with each other. So we don't even need the external competition. Booking.com is competing with Priceline.com, is competing with Agoda, is competing with Kayak.
So part of your job is driving that strategy and connection across that brand family. And you have to incorporate all of these companies into a brand identity, but at the same time, you bought them because they had this kind of startup energy and this kind of innovation and spirit that you don't want to crush once you bring them into a larger corporate group. So how do you balance those seemingly conflicting issues within a larger group, which is specifically your responsibility?
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
I think what the Priceline Group has been very uniquely doing is combine scale with entrepreneurship. And I don't know many groups that have been able to do that. We're a massive company. If you look at Booking.com, operating is in way over 100 countries, in 42 languages, with 21 million rooms on their website. And at the same time, you have companies like Kayak, which are fast-growing businesses, or even Rocket Miles, which is a company we acquired a little bit over a year ago, based out of Chicago, which is a small startup. And so we empower the CEO of these brands. By the way, if you look at Kayak or Rocket Miles, the founders are still there, and that speaks a lot to the entrepreneurial spirit that we're trying to keep in the group. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenge that most Fortune 500 companies have, balancing scale and entrepreneurship, and I think we're doing a pretty good job at it.
So specifically, how do you do that? Because, I mean, when you get to a point where you've bought this company and you want that company to be profitable and
Yes.
operating as a business, you're keeping independent CEOs in charge, but they're not independent. They're part of a larger group. So how do you get that allow them the freedom that you talk about, but still make them accountable to you as a larger business?
It's tricky. I'm not gonna lie. It's tricky. But the way we try to make it work is we're very focused on EBITDA. We love profit. That's we're here to make money.
Good thing for a business
clear.
to concentrate on.
By the way, not all tech companies are that focused on profits.
That's very true.
So the way we operate with our CEOs is we discuss with them every year the budget for next year and the 3-year plan, and we discuss with them the EBITDA target. That is really one of the most important KPI in our companies. And then once this is agreed, and that can take some serious discussions, we see our job at the group level as helping them to achieve that. But they're the CEO, they're the one hiring their teams, they're the one deciding whether they want to spend on marketing or on people. They're the one deciding if they want to be based in Chicago, New York, or Bangkok. And what we are here for is to help with knowledge exchange, help them make some decision because they don't necessarily have the experience. I was a CEO before, so I can talk to them, and I've been in their shoes before. I can explain to them how I would do it, but at the end of the day, this is always their decision. And it's been working really well. Just look at our stock price.
So there must be points of conflict, though, right? There must be points where you want the CEO to do one thing, and the CEO has an idea of doing something else. So how do you resolve those conflicts within the confines of a larger corporate structure?
So in general, I mean, I can talk about what I do with 2 of the CEO I work very closely with. The OpenTable CEO, Krista Carls, amazing woman, by the way, and Paul Hennessy, the CEO of Priceline.com. We don't always agree, and that's okay. I think if they were always in agreement with me, we would probably not make as many progresses as we're doing. And the way it works is that we have built over time relationship. We have agreed to disagree. We have fought, but at the end of the day, this is always their decision. I can express to them that I strongly disagree and that I would strongly recommend to do otherwise. But at the end of the day, we put them there as CEO. That's their job. And my view is that at the end of the day, if we're not happy with too many of the decisions they made, then we just need to figure out if we need another CEO. But you got to empower your people. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense.
So, I mean, obviously there is a strong corporate group in the middle of all these companies.
Yeah.
And so what role do you see the corporation, and how do you sort of pull these brands together so that there are connections between all of them where it makes sense? And how does all of that kind of technology and branding and marketing all kind of fit together to take advantage of the fact that you're a larger organization with a bunch of interesting pieces?
Yes. So when we think about ourselves, as helping people experience the world. And this is how we believe that we're a tech company much more than a travel company. Let me explain what I mean by that. So if you think about Google, Google is the platform for knowledge and information. If you think about Facebook, Facebook is the platform for people and social connection. If you think about Amazon, they're the platform for shoppings. We're the platform for experience. And so you can travel, you can dine with us. We've just launched what we call in-destination activities, where if you go to Amsterdam and you want to go to the museum, you can book it through us and you will be able to skip the line. And so we help you experience the world, and what we're trying to do is to take out the friction out of you experiencing the world. That is really what we're trying to do.
So when we spoke in March on the phone before we planned this, and at that point you outlined this kind of grand mobile vision where all the pieces were much more intertwined maybe than they are now,
yeah.
where some of that stuff that you just talked about was on a much grander scale. Can you talk a little bit about where you would like to see those connections go on a mobile device, so that when I get into this city, whether it's say Amsterdam or wherever I'm going, I get this kind of connected experience?
Sure. I think we've all been there. You booked a hotel, you booked a flight, you arrive, your flight is late. You need to go to the hotel room. You don't want to do the check-in. It's just really difficult. And so the bold vision is to say, in an ideal world, I take my mobile phone, I've booked my hotel room and my flight on it. I land, I don't need to go through check-in. I already have the number of my room on my phone. I can already open the door of my room with my phone. While I was in the taxi, because I was really hungry, I ordered room service. It's already there when I arrived. I can reserve, I can book a restaurant for the next day. I can book a spa treatment, you know, just in case for the next day. And I can decide to go the next day to the museum, and I can do that all through my phone. And then when I'm all done and I'm ready to go home, I don't need to go through the checkout process. I just, again, use my phone, press 3 buttons, and I'm on my way home. That is, again, taking the friction out of the experience. And don't you think that it would make travel so much better if room service was already in your room when you arrive at midnight?
Yeah, there's no doubt it would. But one thing that I've noticed throughout this conference since I've been here, there's the real and there's the ideal, and there's a big gap between the two. And there's a lot of talk about the ideal. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, from where you sit, how far are you from that ideal, from making it that kind of vision happen with the technology you have?
So I think it's hard to give an exact deadline and say by August 31st, 2018, what I've just described will for sure happen. I do think, though, that we are moving along all these pieces at once. So I mentioned the in destination activities that we have launched. With OpenTable, we're working more and more on the pay system so that you can not only reserve but pay your restaurant with your mobile phone. So all the pieces come together, but the technology world evolves very fast. So what I'm describing today, maybe there will be an even better, even bolder vision next year when you invite me back.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. I think that, you know, certainly as the phone technology develops, that's going to have a big impact on it. You know, people talked about 5G and the exponential change that will bring to the networking and the kinds of you know, functions and abilities that we just don't even have the ability to do right now because the technology doesn't allow us to do it yet.
Yeah.
So I know that you have some pretty strong views on the scalability of the sharing economy and Airbnb in particular. And I was wondering if you could tell us, you know, why you think it can scale to a level that, you know, they've talked about over the next 4 years, and you know, maybe why you think your company can improve on that experience when people are, you know, appear to be pretty happy with the Airbnb experience right now.
Sure. So let me start by saying that I do think that Airbnb is an amazing company, and I think they are an incredible entrepreneurial company, and what they've achieved is truly remarkable. So I very much admire what they've done. Now, do I think that they're a big threat for us, as many people keep asking, and as you've just asked? Frankly, not yet. Maybe, but maybe at some point, but not yet. I think, and the reason why I think that is because they have so many challenges in front of them to reach profitability. You know, they're not profitable, far from it, and they need to do that while scaling. And they need to do that while solving a bunch of frictions which are generated by this model of the sharing economy. If you think about the experience of the sharing economy, you have quality that can vary. You have many legal problems. I'm not saying that this problem can't be solved. You know, they're smart people. They may be able to do it, but it's a lot of friction. And when you talk about scale, I mentioned before, Booking.com already has 21 million rooms. If you take out the traditional hotels and really focus on houses and apartments, which is the core market of Airbnb, we have 6.5 million rooms. Airbnb on their website say that they have 2 million rooms. 6.5, 2.
Right.
And we're profitable, very profitable.
So how does the Booking.com experience, though, compare to the Airbnb experience? Because there is a, you know, when I've booked on Airbnb, and I have, you know, I enjoy the experience. I have a little chat with the host. You know, we get to know each other. There's the whole ratings things, which I will always check before I go to an apartment. And if the host hasn't been rated, I just won't do it. And then when I go there, I've found, like they've made it very easy for me to get into the apartment, deal with whatever I need to deal with, and be helpful in terms of, getting around the area and finding things that I need. So how does that compare with your Booking.com experience that you guys are offering as an alternative to that?
So we decided to take a very different path, and despite the fact that in terms of scale we're already 3 times bigger, just if I talk about their market, we also decided to professionalize this approach because we believe that, again, we need to remove friction, and interaction is a sort of friction.
Right.
And so it's all instant booking, so all these apartments and all these houses that you can book on Booking.com are all instantly bookable. It's no fees for the customer. It's a call center that works 24/7 in all the languages that we already have our website in, which is 42 languages. It's basically, in my view, the next stage of the sharing economy, where it's totally professionalized, where you have scale and quality at the same time.
But then it's not really sharing anymore, right? It's a corporate experience, and sometimes people don't want that corporate experience. They want that kind of interaction with the local, with the homeowner, that you don't get when you go to a hotel or when you use a professional booking service. Is there a way to kind of have the best of both worlds, you think?
I do. I think we're trying more and more to allow our customers on Booking.com to have these conversations if they want to. So a couple of weeks ago, for example, we launched what we call Booking.com Chat Messenger, where if you have a question for your hotel or the person who rent you the apartment, you can contact them in your own language. We will do the translation for you. They can reply in their own language, and we will translate for you. And that's part of this idea of making your experience easier and more friendly. But I think we should not underestimate the value of consistency and quality. And so that's what we're focusing on.
So it's interesting that you brought up the chat. That's the big thing right now. Facebook just announced all of that interaction with chatbots in Messenger. There's a lot going on in other chat apps too, which is particularly popular in Asia and in other parts of the world. You guys are obviously an international market. Are you looking into that kind of technology? And do you see that becoming a way that people interact with brands like yours?
We're definitely looking into this technology, but the same way we're looking at artificial intelligence or voice recognition or automated translation. I mean, all this technology or virtual reality, all this technology in one way or another impact the industry we're working on. So yes, we're definitely looking at it. Now, is it easier for you to type, I want a hotel room in Paris for the night of the 25th, or go on Booking.com and in 3 clicks have your hotel room? I don't know. I suspect that there will be different type of customers
that will so too.
Want different type of experience, and our job is just to make sure that we offer them everything.
So while I have you here, it's pretty well known that your CEO was forced to resign recently, and after he admitted, having a relationship with an employee. So how has this affected your job, and how has it affected the company since that happened? Because it's your top person, and that kind of can be disruptive.
Yes. So my job hasn't changed at all, and we've been very lucky that Jeff Boyd, which was the former CEO of the group for 11 years, and basically built that company, and was the chairman while Darren was the CEO, actually stepped back. And if you look at the market reactions, you can see that there was a huge vote of confidence for him coming back. I think with Jeff running the company, we're very much in good hands.
So we have about a minute left. I just want to ask you about your experience at Ozone and how that experience of being the CEO of a Russian commerce company has helped you in the job that you have now.
I think when you're CEO anywhere in the world, I mean, Russia is a difficult country, but there are many other places which are not easy. I think you learn You learn to manage a P&L, which is always very useful. You learn to manage people. And I'm a huge believer in the fact that businesses are about people more than anything. I know that in tech conferences, people always talk about their servers and their process and their algorithm. But at the end of the day, all these things wouldn't work if people were not behind. And I think what I learned mostly when I was the CEO of a company which had 4,000 employees, all of them Russians, and a lot of them a little bit older than me, was that people matters. People matters a lot. And as a CEO, you need to spend most of your time on that rather than figuring out what's the next funky technology around the corner. If you build your team well, they will be able to have this conversation with you. And I think that's tremendously helpful in a group like the Priceline group, where we have 16,000 employees. People matters.
All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming and for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maelle and Ron. Now, for our next set of speakers, please welcome Katya Beecham.